I died choking on my own blood, the metallic tang flooding my mouth as the Humvee flipped end over end in the Afghan dust. My father's voice echoing in my earpiece. "You're nothing but a disappointment."
Bella.
Always have been. Betrayal hit harder than the IED, my own squad. Turned by his bribes, leaving me to burn. But death wasn't the end. It was a goddamn reset button, slamming me back into my body 3 years earlier. Heart pounding in the mirror of my Arlington apartment, staring at the reflection of a woman who looked 28 again. Not the broken 31-year-old ghost I'd become. The Gala loomed like a guillotine blade. That swanky Marine Corps Foundation fundraiser in D.C., where my father, Senator Harlan Voss, would parade his perfect family for the cameras. Last time, he'd cornered me by the champagne flutes, his whiskey breath hot on my face. "Seal? Please."
Bella.
"You're a glorified secretary with a gun. Stick to baking cookies like your mother." The room had laughed, and I'd swallowed it, the shame burning worse than any shrapnel.
But not this time.
This time, I knew every skeleton in his closet, the offshore accounts, the lobbyist payoffs, the affair that shattered Mom before cancer did, and the buried secret that could bury him, the whistleblower dockside hidden, proof he'd sold out ops for votes, getting good men killed. Including, eventually,
me.
I smoothed my black sheath dress in the cab ride over, the Potomac glittering under the November moon like it was mocking my nerves. Rebirth hadn't erased the nightmares. If anything,
It sharpened them.
every tick of the clock was a countdown to the explosion that shouldn't happen for 3 years. But starting tonight, I'd unravel the threads of my murder, one controversial cut at a time. Dad thought he owned the narrative, America's hawkish senator, war hero in name only. I'd make sure the world saw the coward underneath. The ballroom at the Willard was a sea of stars and stripes, brass buttons glinting under chandeliers that dripped like frozen tears. I spotted him immediately, holding court near the podium, tall, silver-haired, that fake baritone laugh booming as he slapped backs with admirals and donors. My half-sister Lila clung to his arm, her blonde waves perfect, her smile a carbon copy of his, both weapons in their social arsenal. She'd been in on it too, last life, whispering doubts to my CO, planting seeds that I was unstable, unreliable. "Bella's always been dramatic," she'd purred.
Dramatic?
I'd show them drama. I wove through the crowd, nodding at familiar faces, ghosts from a future they didn't know yet. Captain Reyes, my old SEAL handler, was here, looking sharper than in fatigues, chatting up a cluster of aides. He didn't recognize the fire in my eyes yet. Last time, I'd been the dutiful daughter, fading into the wallpaper. This time, I made a beeline for him, glass of sparkling water in hand like a shield. "Captain," I said, voice steady as a rifle barrel. He turned, brow furrowing in that polite confusion of half-remembered names. "Lieutenant Boss? Didn't expect to see you in civvies." Looking fierce. Fierce is the goal. I clinked my glass to a scotch. "Heard you're giving the keynote. Any surprises in that speech?" He chuckled. Low and easy. "Just the usual flag waving."
Why?
"You volunteering for a shout-out." My pulse thrummed. In the original timeline, his speech had been boilerplate, a nod to our brave servicewomen that felt like pity. But I had leverage now, memories of classified briefings, ops he'd greenlit that Dad had sabotaged behind the scenes. What if I told you I had intel on a certain senator's extracurriculars? The kind that makes headlines. Reyes's eyes sharpened. the casual mask slipping. Voss, as in Harlan Voss, your old man, the one and only. I leaned in, voice dropping to a conspirator's hush. He's got dirt, Captain. Dirt that buries careers. And I'm done pretending it doesn't exist. He studied me, the room's murmur fading to white noise. You got proof, Lieutenant. More than proof. A reckoning. My fingers itched for the thumb drive in my clutch, the digital ghost of files I'd smuggled out in my last life. Before the betrayal sealed my fate. But handing it over now was too soon. It had to build, layer by layer, until the Gala's climax cracked him open. Across the room, Dad caught my eye, his smile tightening like a noose. He excused himself from his admirers and strode over, Lila trailing like a remora.
Bella.
There you are. Thought you'd bailed for another training exercise. The air quotes around training exercise dripped sarcasm, drawing chuckles from nearby suits. Lila tittered, her hand on his elbow.
Oh, Dad.
Be nice. Bella's just dedicated to her little adventures. The old rage bubbled, hot and familiar. Last life. I'd laughed it off, cheeks burning, retreating to the ladies' room to splash water on my face and whisper, "It's fine. He's proud in his way." Bullshit. This time, I met his gaze, unflinching. Adventures? That's one word for it.
Senator.
I'd call it duty. You remember duty?
Don't you?
Or was that just a campaign slogan? The laughter died. A few heads turned. Dad's jaw clenched, that vein in his temple pulsing like a warning flare. Careful,
Daughter.
this isn't the barracks. It's a celebration of service, not your personal pity party.
Pity party.
The words landed like a gut punch, echoing the dressing down before my deployment, when he'd called my SEAL quals a phase. But I didn't flinch. Instead, I smiled, slow and sharp. Celebration? Funny. I thought it was about honoring the truth, not the spin. Lila's eyes widened, a flicker of unease breaking her poise. Bella, you're being weird. Let's get you a drink. No thanks. I turned back to Reyes, dismissing them like the footnotes they were. Captain, about that speech. Make it count. He nodded, something like respect dawning. As Dad stormed off, muttering about ungrateful brats, I felt the first thrill of momentum. Revenge wasn't a sprint, it was a siege. And I'd just breached the walls. The evening unspooled like a bad rerun with new dialogue. Hors d'oeuvres circulated, tiny crab cakes that tasted like ash in my mouth, while string quartets sawed at patriotic medleys. I worked the room methodically, planting seeds, a quiet word to a journal reporter about unusual funding flows in Dad's committee, a lingering glance at the vice president's aide, the one who'd later investigate corruption if I nudged him right. Each conversation was a mine, timed to detonate later. But the ghosts clung. Midway through, I slipped into a powder room alcove, the marble cold against my palms as I gripped the sink. Flashes hit, the desert heat, the radio crackle of abort. Voss, it's a trap, too late. My team screams, cut short by gunfire. And Dad's voice. Post-mission leaked to the press. My daughter's safe. A minor skirmish. Minor. He'd traded my life for headlines, bribing insiders to frame it as enemy action, not his sold-out intel. A knock jolted me. Bella, you okay? Lila's voice. Syrupy concern masking the knife. I straightened, wiping my mouth. Peachy. Just fixing my lipstick for the show. She pushed in, all wide eyes and designer perfume. Dad's pissed. What was that out there? You're embarrassing him. Embarrassing him. The irony coiled in my gut. Embarrassing? Like when you accidentally forwarded my psych eval to his chief of staff. Or when you told the press I was questioning orders after that botched op in Yemen. Her face paled. Just a fraction. The tell of a bluff called. I don't know what you're talking about. Liar. The word hung. Venomous. In my first life, I'd let her gaslight me, doubting my own memories amid the painkillers and PT. This time, I stepped closer, voice a whisper. I know everything, Lila. The emails. The calls to my CO. You wanted me out, Daddy's little rival for the spotlight. But here's the twist. I'm not going anywhere. Except up. She backed against the mirror, breath hitching. You're crazy. This is family. Family? I laughed, bitter and low. Family doesn't get you killed. The door swung open before she could retort. A waiter with a tray. I breezed past, leaving her staring at her reflection like it might crack. Back in the ballroom, the energy shifted, speeches winding up, the crowd buzzing with post-dinner haze. Dad took the stage for his remarks. All bluster and bromides. In this great nation, we stand on the shoulders of giants, our warriors, our seals, the unsung who keep the wolves at bay. Applause thundered, but I saw the cracks, the way his eyes darted to me, the sweat beading on his brow despite the AC. Then Reyes stepped up, envelope in hand. My heart slammed. Had I overplayed? Pushed too hard?
But no.
This was the fulcrum. Ladies and gentlemen, he began, voice cutting through like a K-bar. Before we close, an honor that's long overdue. He paused, scanning the room until his gaze locked on mine. Commander Isabella Voss. The room froze. Gasps rippled, then silence thick as fog. Dad's mic hand trembled. His face went the color of old parchment. Commander, someone murmured. Cameras flashed. Reyes continued, unflappable. For classified service in Operation Shadowlance, actions that saved countless lives, at great personal risk. The promotion was pending disclosure, but tonight, we celebrate it publicly. Commander Voss, your country thanks you. I rose, legs steady despite the adrenaline tsunami. The walk to the stage blurred, congrats slapping my shoulders. Lila's stare burning holes. Dad stood aside, lips moving soundlessly. A plea or a curse. As I reached the podium, our eyes met. Surprised? Senator? I murmured. Just for him. You always said I wasn't cut out for command. Guess the Navy disagrees. He swallowed. The crowd's roar crashing in. But in his eyes, I saw it, the dawning horror. The secret stirring. My rebirth wasn't just survival, it was his apocalypse. The after-party swirled into a fever dream of handshakes and toasts. The commander's pin heavy on my lapel like a talisman against the past. I fielded questions with clipped precision. Classified. Ma'am. To the socialites. Team effort. Sir. To the brass, while Dad hovered at the edges. A ghost in his own gala. Lila had vanished. Probably speed-dialing her PR fixer. But I knew she'd resurface. They always did. These bosses. Slithering back with apologies laced in arsenic. Reyes pulled me aside near the dessert table. his expression a mix of pride and probe. That was one hell of a curveball, Commander. You sure you're ready for the fallout? Your father's not the forgiving type. Forgiving? I snorted, spearing a chocolate-dipped strawberry. He never started. But neither am I. I slipped him the thumb drive, casual as passing a napkin. Start with the Cayman transfers. Page 47 has the smoking gun, links to that arms dealer in Kabul. The one who flipped my convoy. His fingers closed around it, face hardening. Jesus.
Bella.
This is treason level. I corrected. Now it's justice. In my first life, I'd uncovered the files during a routine audit, buried them to protect the family name, noble idiot that I was. Dad found out, spun it as my delusions, greased palms to discredit me. The IED was the exclamation point. This time, the files were live ammo, and Reyes was the trigger man. He pocketed it, nodding once. I'll run it up the chain. Quietly. You need backup? I am the backup. A SEAL's mantra. Adapt. Improvise. Overcome. But as he melted into the crowd, doubt gnawed. Revenge tasted sweet in theory, salty in the doing. What if exposing Dad tanked innocence? Aides with mortgages, donors with dreams? Controversial didn't cover it. It'd be a bloodbath of reputations. And I'd be the one wielding the axe. Dawn crept in gray and unforgiving as I crashed in my apartment, the pin glinting on the nightstand like a dare. Sleep dodged me, chased by replays, the explosion's roar. Shrapnel carving my thigh like a butcher's knife. My last whisper into the sat phone. Dad. Why? His response? Silence. Then the dial tone. Betrayal's purest form. Morning brought the storm. My phone blew up. Congrats from old squad mates. Queries from CNN embeds. But buried in the notifications, a text from Lila. We need to talk. Coffee? Neutral ground. Neutral. As if we shared DNA instead of disdain. I met her at a Foggy Bottom cafe. The kind with overpriced lattes and underpaid baristas. She arrived flustered.
No makaparmer.
Clutching her Louis Vuitton like a life raft. Bella. What the fuck?
Commander?
You lied to us.
Lit.
I stirred my black coffee. Slow circles.
Pot. Kettle.
Or should I say, half-sister who forged my leave request to make me look AWOL. Her eyes darted, guilty as sin. That was a misunderstanding. Dad was just worried. Worried I'd outshine him? I leaned forward. Voice steel. Cut the crap. Lila. I know about the affair. Mom's letters. How he knocked up his intern right after her chemo started. You are the consolation prize he paraded to hide it. She recoiled. Color draining. How? People talk. Widows, especially. Mom's ghost had been my first ally in the afterlife haze. Her diaries spilling truths I'd ignored in youth. Dad's grief was a cover for conquests, Lila. The result? A walking reminder of his sins. Tears welled. But I had no pity left. This isn't personal, she whispered. He's powerful. Cross him. And you're done.
Done.
I laughed.
Cold.
I was done 3 years from now. Bleeding out because he sold my op for a pole bump. You helped. Enjoy the view from the rubble. I left her there. Steam rising from her untouched cappuccino like a surrender flag. Outside. Decease, chill bit deep. But purpose warmed me. Step 1. Dismantle the facade. Next, the buried secret. That afternoon, I hit the hill, Senator Voss's office. Unannounced. His scheduler balked, but I flashed the new rank, and doors parted like the Red Sea. Dad was behind his desk. Photos of us kids, pre-betrayal, grinning from oak frames. A hypocrisy shrine.
Bella.
He didn't rise, but his eyes flicked to the door. Contingency for escape? Impressive theatrics last night. Commander. Who'd you blow to pull that off? The slur landed, but I absorbed it, channeling it to fuel. No one.
Dad.
Just confidence. Unlike your contributions to defense spending. I dropped a folder on his desk, redacted copies from the drive. Just enough to sting. Exhibit A, $2 mill rerouted to ghost contractors. Your signature. He scanned it, face twisting from bluster to calculation. Fabrications. You're unstable, PTSD.
Probably.
I'll have your command yanked by lunch. Try it. I sat, uninvited, crossing my legs. Reyes has the originals. And a recording from Yemen. You on the line, haggling with that warlord like a flea market vendor. One more shipment, Harlan, and your girls' team gets a clear path. Except you double-crossed. Fed them bad chords. His Adam's apple bobbed. Speculation. You're grasping. At straws?
No.
At nooses. The room shrank, air thick with unspoken history. You raised me to serve, then sabotaged every step.
Why?
Afraid I'd expose the fraud? The man who dodged Nom with flat feet but waves the flag for photo ops. He slammed the desk, voice a hiss. You were a liability, reckless, mouthy like your mother. I built this family. Built? You broke it. Mom's face flashed, wan, whispering in my ear before the end. He's poison.
Bella.
Run. I hadn't.
But now?
Resign.
Dad.
Quietly. Or the full files drop Friday. Your choice. He stared, the hawk reduced to a cornered rat. This is blackmail. Family doesn't. Family? I stood, towering in spirit, if not stature. You killed that the day you signed my death warrant. I walked out to his sputters, the hill's corridors echoing my heels like gunfire. Victory tasted metallic, like blood mine, from before. But as I hit the street, my phone buzzed, unknown number.
We need to meet.
It's about your father. A friend. The hook sank deep. Ally or ambush? In this reset life, trust was a luxury I couldn't afford. Yet curiosity burned. The address, a Georgetown brownstone. Nondescript as sin. Night fell sticky and suspicious as I arrived, the door creaking open to a dimly lit study. A woman waited, mid-40s. Sharp suit, eyes like chipped flint. Commander Voss.
Melena Marquez.
DOJ. We met once. In another life. She smiled. Faint and knowing.
What?
My hand twitched toward my concealed Glock. Have it. Explain. She poured scotch. Neat. Sliding a glass over. Not literally. But I've tracked your father's web for years. Whistleblowers vanish on his watch.
You.
You're different. Last night, that pin, it's the crack we needed. Coincidence? Or fate's cruel joke? How'd you know I'd come? Patterns. She tapped a file, my file. Prairie birth psych profile. You're a fighter. And your moves? Uncharacteristically bold. Like you've seen the endgame. Chills prickled. Telepathy? No profiling. But her next words froze me. The Gala recording surfaced. Not Reyes, anonymous tip. Your father's already lawyering up. Twist 1. Leak wasn't mine. Saboteur in the ranks? As we talked strategies, timelines, the controversial call to freeze assets pre-resignation, I probed. Elena was clean. A lifer burned by Dad's cuts to witness protection. Alliance formed, tentative as wet rope. But driving home, paranoia gnawed. If not me, who? Lila. Deflecting? Or Dad? Flushing out threats? Sleep evaded again. Dreams splintering into convoy wreckage. Elena's face morphing to Mom's. Trust no one? Baby. Wednesday brought the media maelstrom. Leaks hit Drudge at dawn. Voss heiress promoted amid family feud? Pundits dissected. Fox calling me Daddy's defiant darling. MSNBC, a symptom of military nepotism. Dad countered with a statement. Proud of my daughter's service, despite personal challenges. Subtext, she's cracking. I ignored it, focusing fire. Met Reyes at a dive bar off Pennsylvania, peanuts and paranoia. Files verified, he said, nursing a beer. He's toast. But the warlord? Still active. Your call on extradition could spark diplomatic shitstorm. Controversial decision loomed. Push for arrest, risk embassy bombings, or play safe. Let Dad skate on lesser charges? SEAL ethos screamed strike hard. Reborn wisdom whispered measured. Full court, I decided. No half measures. He dies in cuffs. Not a cell. Reyes grinned. Wolfish. That's my commander. By Thursday, cracks spiderwebbed Dad's empire. Donors pulled. Hearings scheduled. Lila called. Voice shattered. He's breaking.
Bella.
Meet us, dinner. Please. Trap or olive branch? I agreed. Venue neutral. Ruth's Chris. Steaks and steaks. They arrived diminished, Dad gaunt. Ty askew, Lila red-eyed. Sit, he grunted.
No preamble.
We ordered fillets rare. Blood pooling like accusations. This ends now, he said, forking meat savagely. Retract the files. Family, therapy, whatever. But you're destroying us. Us. I sipped Cabernet. Steady. You destroyed me first. The op, my team. For what? Re-election. He deflated, glancing at Lila. It was business. Collateral. Collateral. My team, Javier. With his kids' drawings in his kit, Sarah. First female breacher. Ghosts at the table. Business ends tonight. Resign by morning. Or Elena's team raids at noon. Lila whimpered.
Bella.
He's your father. Was. The word severed. Final. As we rose, me to leave, them to stew, Dad grabbed my wrist. Grip iron. You think you're clean? That Yemen psych eval? I buried worse on you.
Bluff.
Or truth. My stomach twisted. Memories foggy. Painkillers blurring edges. Lies. Check your email. He released. Eyes gleaming with last-ditch venom. In the cab, I logged in. Burner account. Attachment. Redacted report. My signature. Dated post-Yemen. Recommend discharge. Unfit for command due to erratic behavior. Heart hammered. Forgery? Or repressed reality? I'd blacked out after the op. Friendly fire. My call. Did I crack? The twist burrowed. Maybe I wasn't the hero reborn, but the villain redeemed. Friday dawned like judgment, DC's fog cloaking the capital in guilty haze. I hadn't slept, the email a venomous loop, my own words damning me. Unfit. Erratic. Had Dad's betrayal been retaliation? Not initiation? No, the timeline didn't bend. The files proved his graft predated my meltdown. Still, doubt festered. A controversial mirror to my resolve. Was revenge justice? Or vengeance for a flawed soul? Elena called at 7 a.m. Voice clipped. Raids greenlit. His safe house in McLean offshore docks. Hard drives. You in. Front row. I geared up jeans.
TAC vest under leather jacket.
Glock holstered. No uniform. This was personal. Not protocol. The DOJ convoy snaked through Virginia burbs, a black tide against picket fences. Dad's retreat, a modernist McMansion with pool and panic room, loomed. Blinds drawn like ashamed eyes. Feds breached at 9:02. Shouts echoing. Federal agents. Hands up. I hung back. Reyes at my flank. His presence a anchor. Chaos erupted. Aides scattering. Lawyers yelling privilege. Dad emerged last. Cuffs glinting. Face a rictus of defeat. Our eyes met across the lawn, his pleading.
Mine pitiless.
Bella, he rasped as they marched him. It wasn't just me. The eval. Save it for the judge. But the seeds sprouted thorns.
Post-raid.
I cornered the lead agent, a burly ex-Marine named Kowalski. That psych report. Real? He shrugged, cuffing a briefcase. Looks legit. But forgeries happen. Your call to verify. My call. Always my call. The day blurred into debriefs, files catalogued. Headline screaming Vos empire crumble, corruption provençnar sénateur. Lila vanished. Jet to Europe per tabloids. Elena toasted me at Op Center. You lit the fuse. Commander. Hero's work.
Hero.
The word chafed. That night, alone with bourbon and bandwidth, I dug. Hacked psych database, gray area favor from a hacker buddy in Cyber Command. The eval loaded. My loops. Frantic. Team down. My fault. Hear voices, Javi screaming. PTSD hallmarks. But the sign-off? Dad's chief of staff. Not the doc. Relief flooded. Chased by fury. Forged. All of it a preemptive strike to discredit if I ever turned. The buried secret wasn't mine. It was his masterpiece of manipulation. I forwarded it to Elena. Anonymous. Add to the pile. Saturday brought the twist I hadn't scripted. Press conference at the Pentagon, me in dress blues. Flanked by brass. Announcing my next command. Counterterror Task Force. Yemen focus. Cameras rolled. Questions flew. Commander Voss. Your father's arrest conflict. I parried. Justice serves all. Equally. Off mic. A shadow approached. Lila.
Gone.
Envelope in hand. Don't say I never gave you anything. She thrust at Mom's will. Unsealed. Clauses I'd never seen. Trust funds diverted by Dad. My inheritance funneled to his campaigns. And a note. In Mom's script, Bella. Forgive him if you can. But protect yourself. The truth is your weapon. Tears pricked. First since rebirth. Why now? Because you're winning. She hugged me. Awkward.
Fleeting.
And maybe. Family's not all poison. I watched her go, the envelope burning in my pocket. Forgiveness? A controversial pipe dream. But as the conference wrapped, Reyes pulled me aside. One more thing. That warlord? Extradited. Your push sealed it, no blowback. Momentum crested. Sunday. Dad's plea deal leaked. House arrest. Disbarment. No jail if he testified against the network. I visited the McLean holding. Glass partition between us like fate's final wall. He looked small. Orange jumpsuit swallowing him. You got me.
Kid.
Fair play. Fair. I pressed the intercom. 12 souls.
Dad.
My team. For votes. He sagged. I thought. Control it all. You were the loose end. Loose end. Echo of death. Any last words? A beat.
I'm sorry.
For everything. The words hung. Controversial absolution. Did I want it? Rebirth's gift, choice. Too late. I stood, but paused. Lila, tell her I said. Try. Outside. Air crisp with autumn bite. Potomac shimmering like absolution denied. My phone buzzed new orders. Wheels up Monday. New ops. New life. No ghosts this time. I'd buried them with him. Months blurred into rhythm. Briefings in Bahrain. Raids in the rubble. The SEAL life reborn fierce. Dad faded to footnotes. Testimony crumbling cartels. His empire ash. Lila reached out sporadically. Awkward lunches. Thawing edges. Forgiveness? Not yet. But possibility. Like dawn after endless night. One evening. Stateside layover. I stood at Arlington. Overlooking rows of white marble. Javi's stone caught the sunset. Loved by family.
Missed by friends.
I traced the letters. Wind whispering secrets. We got brother. All of M. Rebirth wasn't erasure. It was rewrite. I died wronged. Betrayed, but rose commanding. The Gala's laugh was silenced.
Dades palor mai palette.
Controversial? Hell yes. Family fractured. Truths flayed public. Tense, every breath a tightrope. But American to the core grit. Guns and grudges settled under stars and stripes. As I walked away, the horizon cracked gold. Not happy ever after, tragic echoes lingered. But victory?
Pure.
Hard won. And mine.